Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers' best bet or daily package for only $2.
Good morning, guys, and welcome in here to Wager Talk TV. This is Puck Time. We are here to break down 3 NHL games for you. We have best bets at the end of the show. Joining me today, I have Don Buster and Brian Leonard. I am, of course, Andrew McGinnis. Looking forward to getting into these games with you guys. An unbelievable night of NHL action yesterday. A stunner and a big loss for me, unfortunately, on the New York Rangers, as it seemed that home ice advantage does not matter one bit in that series. The Devils win both games in MSG, and the New York Rangers won both games across the bridge in Jersey. That series is tied up 2 games apiece. The Golden Knights, they get it done against the Winnipeg Jets. The Seattle Kraken tie things up. The series sits at 2-2. And of course, the Maple Leafs create that big comeback down 4-1 and defeat the Tampa Bay Lightning in overtime. What a night it was in the NHL. Of course, we have 3 games to go over today. The Islanders, Hurricanes, Wild Stars, and the nightcap with the LA Kings and Edmonton Oilers, which I would probably argue has been the most electrifying series of round 1. Mr. Buster, I'll bring you in, man. How are you feeling, and what are your thoughts on round 1 so far?
Well, as we talked about it before, Andrew, all during the year, the competitiveness of all these teams have really came out, and it's showing. It's showing big time. Again, as I always sit here and bash the Leafs for the most part, in turn, I want to congratulate them on 2 miracle, and I will say miracle comebacks, especially the one game where, as you had mentioned before, Andrew, about that, you put it all over Twitter, so you couldn't miss it on the timeline. I'm sure everybody that follows you couldn't miss it, about the takeaway goal for Tampa Bay when they called that goal back, and in that same night, Boston scored the exact same goal. So maybe it is the Leafs year. So if you're a Leafs fan, maybe it is your year. But I'm really like to see the Boston-Toronto series, and I will be unloaded on Boston for this series because at the end of the day, the coaching and the goaltending will catch up with them. But I tell you, they are such a talented team. I have to give them credit.
It's going to be exciting. And obviously, you still have to win 4 games to win a series. And Brian, it looks like we saw no sweeps in round 1, and I'm still in the belief that we won't see any team win in 5 games, although we maybe could see it with the team where the city you live in, the Vegas Golden Knights. How you feeling, Brian? Welcome in.
Much better about my 5% play on Vegas to win this series than I was after the first game, I got to tell you that. Yeah, they've turned it on, and they've been the better team thus far. But when you said the shocker, well, it was a shocker because everybody I know had the Rangers, but the Toronto comeback was the shocker in my regard. It was 4-1, and truthfully, I had Tampa Bay in that game. So you got to give Toronto all the credit in the world for coming back, but you also have to penalize Tampa Bay. This once again on the expected goals, Tampa Bay was the better team, and they found a way to lose it. Those are the kind of games that Toronto can build on, and we've made fun of Toronto over the years because they can't advance in the playoffs, but they're looking really good right now, and you got to say that they're on their way to round 2.
That they are, but as we saw against the Montreal Canadiens, that 4th game is the hardest game to win, so it'll be a really, really fun time watching that game on Wednesday night. But some good games to go over here, and let's start things off, guys, with game number 1. We'll break down, of course, the Carolina Hurricanes. They are trying to wrap up the series tonight against the Islanders. Carolina here, favorites, of course, at home, a place they have been so successful, a place that last year in round 1, they did not lose one single game, and they find themselves in a situation where they just seem to be able to protect leads when they get them. They seem to be able to, have success in the faceoff dot, dominate when they get the last change, have the depth that they can to really, match up against the Islanders. But guys, I was saying this a few days ago, this team has been so successful, but when you look at the injuries they've gone through, Pacioretty at the start of the year, Svechnikov before the playoffs, and now Teravainen breaking his hand, the depth is really starting to dissipate here for this Carolina Hurricanes team. Now, when I look at this game, I look at it a lot different than I looked at a lot of the other meetings between these two clubs. I know Carolina's been a good defensive team at home. I know the Islanders live and die by Sorokin. But I approach elimination games a lot different than I do other games and how I have years ago. You see more empty net goals than you ever have during these elimination games. You see the goalie get pulled early, and you see a really fast tempo out the gate. Whereas, 10, 15 years ago, you used to see a really slow tempo, really kind of feeling each other out process. That's not the case anymore in these elimination games. Guys, I like the over in this game. I think we could see some goals. I recommend anybody looking at Carolina to play the puck line. You can get around plus 170, as much as plus 175. If you do like Carolina, I think they will win by more than one goal. The Islanders, to me, seem to be just a little bit outclassed here, Buster. It looks to me that when they score a goal, it's a big one, and they can't really follow that up. I saw Bo Horvat score that goal late in the third period, but that was when it just didn't really matter. And, of course, the penalty troubles. Every single team and fan base and media are complaining about the referees. Guess what? Every single team is getting the same treatment. I'm tired of hearing people complaining about referees. The New York Islanders are taking bad penalties, and Carolina's capitalizing on them. I think Carolina just a little bit of a different class here than the Islanders. I'll take them on the puck line and lean towards the over as well in this elimination game. What do you have for us, Buster?
Well, Andrew, I think you nailed it right on the head. The depth is still there. I think Brendan Marr is just a great coach, in my opinion. He gets these guys ready to play. They had a real bad game in Game 3, and they played probably one of their best games in Game 4. And I fully believe Carolina wins this game and will play another great game. Probably, I know you like it over the 5.5, and I understand that because last year, as you have brought up, we all remember there was empty net goals like crazy. I think some totals you end up getting 3 in a game. So again, on these elimination games. So you make a good point. Truthfully, Andrew, I actually forgot about that. That was happening all last year. Now, we don't know what's going to happen this year, if it's going to be the same, but I'd have to think, just because the way the NHL season was going and the way these coaches pull their goaltenders, I always say, and I know people mock me on the show, I get all these comments, but 5.5, it's an over number because 6 is very easy to get to this NHL. Oh, by the way, out of the 4 games in this series, 3 out of the 4 have gone over. The only one, Game 1 in Carolina. For me, though, I actually believe this game could be pretty close to Game 1. I think Carolina really shuts them down. They have the advantage of the last change. Like I say, I think they have the better coach. They don't have the better goaltender. So that could be a little bit troublesome, but I think they're just too good. I really do. They do not want to go back to New York for a Game 6 because that goes Game 6, all of a sudden here we are, Game 7. I think they played a great game the other night. I think you see the best of their game tonight again. And you mentioned it as well. One more thing. They have dominated the special teams. 2 more things. They are 9-1 at home the last 10 playoff games. 3 more things. The Islanders are 2-8 in Carolina, their last 10. Give me Carolina. They'll be the first team to advance to round 2.
All right, looking at Carolina to close things out tonight at home. Bryan, they've been a very solid home team. Do you expect this series to be over this evening?
I do. I'm in full agreement. You made a great point about pulling goalies early in the when your back's against the wall. And I firmly agree. And we're getting a total of 5.5 to the under at -140. So not only if you like the over here, you're getting plus money coming back your way. As much as we like doing shows with Carmine, I got to admit, this is the first time I think I've done a hockey show with Buster. And I've always liked his thought process and what he looks for in these games. So it's a learning experience for me in that regard because, as I've mentioned before, I've only been handicapping hockey for 6 years now. It's been very successful, but you guys have been doing it for much longer than I have. So I always like listening to your thought process. And as I said, Andrew, that's something that you had mentioned that I firmly agree in. I'm going to look at a slightly different direction because of that, is you can get the team total on Carolina right now over 2.5 at -150. So it's slightly less in that regard, and we look more towards the total there. So I think that's a little bit better bet for myself is Carolina -150 over 2.5. Because as I expect, I think we all expect, is Carolina to have a lead here, and then the Islanders have to get desperate and start doing things, and then we're going to pull one of the best goalies in the NHL. That gives us a better chance to score. And 3 at home for Carolina is really not that hard to get there. You're giving a little bit of juice, like I said, on the 150, but Carolina over 2.5 -150 is probably the way I would go in this one.
I like that one quite a bit. That was my play on the last game, and I'll look towards it again as well. Do think Islanders can contribute to the scoring as well, but man, you got to like that number there, 2.5 for a team total. Let's keep this thing going here with our next game. We have the Minnesota Wild and Dallas Stars. Going to go right back to Bryan. Dallas -140, Minnesota +120, total at 5.5. Bryan, we saw the total kind of settle back down again, but it only went under by 1 goal here. We've seen 5.5 in every single game of the series, shaded towards the under, of course, at -130. Now, I had this series pegged towards the biggest zigzag of the entire round one. I figured this one would be back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I do have some rooting interest for the Dallas Stars, but it seems to me like Minnesota is prepared to bounce back, and I think they're in a good situation to do so. Do you agree with me in that instance?
To me, the teams are very comparable. Dallas is slightly better, I believe. And as you mentioned, this has been a back-and-forth series. We expected it to be a back-and-forth series. And the road teams continue to be a good payoff here. And you're getting of it anywhere from 118 to 126 is what I'm seeing out there. So I think there's value here on Minnesota in a game that's going to go down to 1 goal. The way I'm looking at it is a 3-2 final, 4-2 final, 4-3 final, something in that range. In that regard, I'll gladly take the plus money line here with the Minnesota team, who's been a good road team. Dallas has been a great home team in certain regards, but these two teams are just too tight for me to lay that number. We're getting, you're getting like 10 cents, 12 cents less. Like if you played Carolina, which I think is the better play, Dallas is laying about 12 cents less. I'm not sure it's worth it because these two teams are, in my opinion, much closer than the Islanders and Carolina at this point. So while I like the favorite in the other one, this one I prefer the dog.
I could definitely see Minnesota battling things out tonight and keeping things close in this series. Buster, what do you think here? It's been an electrifying series so far. Both teams have had plenty of chances. It's been a very aggressive series as well. We've seen plenty of power plays. Special teams playing a huge factor in the playoffs. What do you think, Stars and Wild?
Yes, I'm going to just make a quick little statement about my brother, Brian Leonard, over there. I remember the time when I met him at the Caesars Palace Diamond Lounge for a few Pepsis one night, and that was before Vegas even had a team. And he was telling me about that he is going to put the time and effort in and to be a hockey handicapper. And as he said, that was about 6 years ago, and he has turned into probably one of the best around as a hockey handicapper. And why? Because he's a true professional. He knows that the time and effort it takes to study, to do things. And I'm not just trying to blow smoke, Brian, but it's true. You've been around, and the big key, it's experience. when you've done this kind of stuff for 35, 40 years, I mean, you are able to sit down and get a system to get things. And I'm quite proud, Brian, not that you would even care if I'm proud of you or not, but going from when we were drinking those Pepsis in the Caesar Palace Diamond Lounge to today, where we are, very, very impressive. Very impressive, my friend. Unfortunately, I disagree with you here, Brian. I'm taking. I like Dallas. They've been playing like shit. If it wasn't for Ottinger, they're down 3-1. Here we are. We're tied 2-2. Now you get the 2 out of 3. Now we know that the visiting clubs have been winning these games. I gotta believe the Worm's going to have to turn eventually on this. And when you're getting down to 2 out of 3 games, you might see 3 home teams tonight that will win. And especially because Carolina can win the series, but the other 2 are tied 2-2. Some key things I like for Dallas. I think because DeBoer gets the last change here, his playoff experience will get the best of Edmonton. You got to remember, Minnesota has gone out 3 times, I believe. I'm pretty sure it's 3 times under his watch in the first round. And with that home ice, if Minnesota had the home ice advantage, I'd be talking totally different. Also, the Dallas special teams. Dallas was 5th in the regular season, 3rd on the penalty kill in the regular season. I know it's just that regular season meant nothing, but it's carried on. Minnesota's penalty kill has not been that good. Dallas is number 2 on the power play. The thing is, Dallas's PK hasn't been that good. You're going to see it be that much better tonight. As far as this total, it's a 5.5. Again, geez, you might actually, because it's 5.5 under 25, you might actually see a 5 come up. So I don't know. I really don't want no part of the total. I really, really like Dallas in this situation. I understand it is laying about 140, but I believe they are the much better team when it comes right down to it. They're just not playing like it. I think you see that turnaround in these next few games.
All right, Buster, looking towards Dallas tonight in this one. They're playing at home, looking to really take a hold of this series. Guys, for me, I'm going to continue with the first period plays. I've been pretty successful with these first periods. You're pretty much just handicapping 20 minutes and how you think teams will come out. And I'll take the under 1.5 goals in the first period. You get minus 130 under the 5.5. You get minus 125 under the 1.5 in the first period. I think that if this is a defensive game, it will be in the first period. Some teams and some matchups, you've kind of seen the opposite. I can think about the Leafs and Lightning series, and even the Avalanche and Kraken series, and especially the Edmonton LA series, where they've started off fast and kind of settled in. But I feel like this Minnesota-Dallas series has been quite the opposite. They've started off a little bit slower, and then the scoring has picked up as this game has moved forward. So I'm going to take under 1.5 goals in the first period alone and hope to cash a ticket within 20 minutes here. I think defense is the key, especially for Minnesota. I don't think they're as deep offensively as Dallas are, but I do think that Minnesota has a lot of guys that really do care about playing defensive hockey, and that is really important to them. So hopefully they clog up that neutral zone, clog up the middle of the ice, and I guess I'm hoping for some pretty boring hockey, guys, to start this game off here for the first 20 minutes, and I'll take that. Fine by me. Under 1.5 in the first period. My play here, Minnesota and Dallas. Moving on to our last game of the evening, as we have the Bruins and Panthers playing tomorrow. So just 3 games on tap here today in the playoffs. Kings, Edmonton. Edmonton Oilers minus 235. LA Kings plus 190. Total at 6.5. And I got to say, guys, I mean, everyone I talk to, everybody I see is saying, are you kidding me? Are you serious with this price of minus 235? What's going on here? I mean, Edmonton down 3-0, down 4-3. Hell, I fell asleep. I thought I lost my bet on Edmonton. They win 5-4 in overtime, and they're slapping down this minus 235 price tag. This LA team matches up very well defensively against Edmonton, and they've proven it time and time and time again. even if you think Edmonton's going to win, Buster, I mean, how do you look at this minus 235? Even the regulation price isn't really a good one. So I'm curious, Buster, what do you think about this game tonight?
Yeah, you're right, Andrew. And you know what's really tough for LA? I mean, as you just mentioned, the way they lost that last game, and I speak about that all the time, is what happens last game. I mentioned that last week we were on here. I was mentioning what happened last game and why I was laying the chalk with those with Edmonton. I think last week it was Colorado and Dallas, because Dallas had lost that first game in overtime or double. Maybe it was double overtime. I'm not sure. Anyways. Yeah, again, what happened last game? So it's going to be tough for LA to get going early in this one. I can't lay 230. Like you said, these teams match up pretty good. Can't lay regulation. That's ridiculous. What I would suggest, because of what happened last game, is maybe Edmonton for the first period on the puck line. You're getting a nice little price there. I think it's one plus 120 or so. That might be the play there. This game, to me, is a game that I'll probably be just watching. It's been a great series. Although I see now, it looks like I guess Campbell's going to get the start. And you know what? And maybe you guys can comment on this after. I wonder if LA will ever let Copley come into the net. I don't think Korpisalo, I mean, you have a 3-0 lead. You have that 4-3 lead. Some of those goals he's let in have been suspect. Yes, he has been solid. There's no doubt. But they've been suspect, just like Vasilevsky. You know, I mean, how bad has he played to lose that series for Tampa? But then again, he did win them a couple cups. So you lose a series, you win a couple cups. So I guess that all evens out. Again, too tough to bet Edmonton here. I'll tell you right now, everybody will probably lay that Edmonton in regulation, like you said, minus 150. That will be the play of everybody, the play of the square, which, as we talked last week on here, nothing wrong with that play like that of the square, because Joe Public has been winning a lot this year, as we have talked about. But the total is 6.5 over 20. Now, can we all trust Campbell? That's another reason why I can't bet Edmonton. Can you trust Campbell in net? I know he played very well last game. I couldn't trust him in net. I don't know I can trust LA to win this game because it's Edmonton. Edmonton, if the power plays. I think that's what it'll come down to. The whole special teams. Who stays out of the box will probably win this game. It's been proven. Edmonton is just deadly on the power play. So if they get in that box all the time, it's game over for LA. LA, if they can play discipline and play tough, this will be a really good game. But I think the play is to grab Edmonton in that first period.
All right, Buster looking at Edmonton to win the first period here in this one. And I like that play because they have not been looking good to start games. They've had to come back. They've had to have big second periods, big third periods. They want to get that first. And as far as the goaltending situation is concerned, I do agree that there's some of those goals were tough, but I think we could also argue Korpisalo has saved some big ones as well. I think they're going to ride or die with him, but looks like Jack Campbell most likely will be the starter. I'd probably list it around 70%. He has not been confirmed quite yet, but it will be quite the story to see him come in for Skinner. It's always interesting to me when you see that happen during a series like with Schmid for the Devils. Nobody expected him to come in, and of course he wins 2 games at MSG. So Jack Campbell comes in, could be a really good thing, could be a really bad thing for the Edmonton Oilers. Brian, what's your take here on this one here, Edmonton and LA?
First of all, I'd like to thank Buster for the kind words he had for me. He talked about drinking lots of Pepsis. I don't remember any Pepsis. In fact, I don't remember a lot of anything out of that night other than our friend Marco D'Angelo, who doesn't drink. He's a foo-foo drinker, and we got him drunk. That was the most exciting part of that night, is to see Marco drunk. And drunk Marco is fun Marco. I enjoyed that. And that was one of my favorite nights that we all got together. And unfortunately, Caesars is cut back, and we can no longer get those free drinks in the Diamond Lounge. But I agree with a lot of what was said. Edmonton is the far more talented team, offensively at least. But the Kings just match up with them. Coming into the series, Edmonton was riding high. The Kings were basically backing into the series. And after watching these games, LA is just as good as Edmonton is. They match up very well with them. So I'm looking to play LA one way or another here. And if Edmonton does make that change at goalie, there's no way this should be a 235 favorite in this one, if you ask me. I'm looking to play LA. They've been finding ways to lose these close games, just like Tampa Bay has. So I'm looking at playing LA plus the goal and a half here. It's a total of 6.5. So the goals don't mean quite as much as they would in the 5.5 game that we saw earlier with Minnesota and Dallas. But LA's been right there with them, and we're getting them at a pretty good price here, plus the 1.5. That's the way I'm looking. If we do get the goalie announcement that the veteran will be in there, I even may take LA over team total. But LA's the only way I could look here. Edmonton, yes, they're the better team. Just like Toronto's the better team over Tampa. But certain times you just match up with another club and they have your number. And LA being in the same division for Edmonton, they play all the time. I can't lay 235 here. Give me Los Angeles minus the 1.5, and that's why I'm going to look at it right now. Plus the 1.5, excuse me.
Plus the 1.5. Yeah, I really like that, and I just think it's a really nice way of going about it, especially in a series like this that's gone to overtime in 3 of the 4 games, I believe. And, Bryan, a lot of times I'm against the plus 1.5 wager in the playoffs because of the empty net goal factor, as we spoke about at the top of the show. Mostly in elimination games, so it doesn't really apply as much here. But in a series like this, like last game, I was on Edmonton. I laid like 155 or 160. And that's usually like right around my range as far as high as I'll go. But I'm happy I did, because if I would have had regulation, I would not have been a happy camper, seeing them. Like I said, I didn't even stay up for the game. I fell asleep, waking up to see them win that one in overtime. And to get the plus 1.5 here, I think is a really good wager to make. A little bit chalky, guys, but, if it ain't broke, don't try and fix it. That's kind of how I feel about the first period over in this series between LA and Edmonton. Same thing as Tampa Bay and Toronto. In the Toronto series, it's 4-0. I believe it's 3-1. In this series, it could be, I'll have to double check, but I think it's 3-1. And when I look at what the pace has been like out the gate, I don't think either team is going to change, how they're playing and the type of pace they're pushing. Nobody is dumping and chasing the puck in this series right now. Every single player is carrying the puck past the blue line. And when you do that, that creates more shots on net. It has more guys crash into the net for tips and deflections. And it really creates more opportunities, and it's kind of like you're not wasting as much time going to retrieve the puck if everybody is constantly holding on to the puck. And we're seeing a lot less of that in this series than we are in quite a bit of the other ones. As you guys know, in the playoffs, we see a lot more dump and chase. You want to dump the puck into a defenseman, wait till he gets in that corner, and hit him hard. We're not really seeing that here in this one. We're seeing guys carry the puck in, try and be fancy, try and, make that nice play and create chances. And of course, the power plays. As much as we can talk about this all day long here, about who's been favored, who's gotten screwed by the referees, when it comes down to it, there's been lots of power plays for both teams in this series, especially LA. And that makes me feel good about the over 1.5 in the first period. So it's a bit chalky, guys, but it's the playoffs. It's currently listed as minus 150. And I'll take that over here in the first period. I think this game could start very fast, and maybe it won't slow down. Maybe the full game goes over. But I will just take the first period over 1.5 here. Guys, before we get into best bets, I want to mention the Try WT promo deal. We've been talking about it a lot, but if you guys watch our shows on a daily basis, if you are new to WagerTalk and you have interest in purchasing some plays, of course, all of us sell plays. Don Buster at Sports Memo, Bryan and I at WagerTalk. You guys can use TryWT, same promo code you can use, I believe, over at sportsmemo.com as well. The Try Memo to take 50% off on your first daily or 3-day all access pass. That's good for every single sport if you purchase that, and it's only good for one time only to get 50% off there. So I want to make sure any of you guys that are interested, any big plays you want to try, today is definitely a good day for it. And speaking of big plays, Carmine Bianco, my co-host, he has been with me all year long, and he has been red hot. He will be back tomorrow. He has a 5% play up in the NHL, guys, so don't waste any time. Grab that. He has been on fire this year. Seems like a 5-1 night's been just common for that guy this year, every single day, taking care of business, off to a great start. So grab his 5% play. Brian, you have a 5% baseball release going today. What else do you have going on, and what's your best bet for the show?
Yeah, 5% baseball will be our first 5% of the season. It's a good day for 5% on the site. There's a few guys that have big plays up, so pay attention to the others, including Carmine with his 5%. Yeah, it's a real solid day for myself. I've got 3 plays up in baseball, including the 5%. 2 hockey plays, the same 2 that I gave you earlier, and including this one, which is my best bet. And we just spoke about this. That's LA plus the 1.5 minus about 135. A little juicy, as you pointed out. But the way these 2 teams have played, Edmonton and LA, they match up very well. And to get the 1.5, I'll take that. It keeps me away from losing in overtime on the big underdog. So I'll take the 1.5 with LA. And as you mentioned, 3 out of the 4 games have gone to overtime. If this one goes to overtime, we got ourselves a winner. I'll take LA plus the 1.5.
It's a tight series, and when you get that plus 1.5, you're getting a goal. You know, it's hard to really argue that. Guys, check out Brian today. First 5% baseball play of the season. Also check out Brian with all his NHL action as well. Buster, I know you do hockey. You do lots of hockey action, but you're involved in other sports as well. What do you have going today and the rest of the week for your clients, and what's your best bet for the show?
Thank you, Andrew. Just like to mention to everybody, it is $2 Tuesday at Sports Memo and at WagerTalk, and we happen to be one of the Sports Memo handicappers for $2 Tuesday. I, as like Brian, have my first 5% MLB play up for $2 Tuesday. I'm number 1 in Major League Baseball at Sports Memo. We are having a great start to the season, hitting 66%, 38, 20, and 2 to start the season over there. So go over, grab that play. We have it three cappers for $5, and you'll be glad you did. Our show play will be one we already talked about, only 3 games. We're going with the Square, Joe Public, whatever you want to call it, but really like the Dallas Stars tonight. Just think that they're the play. Talked about it already on this show. In my opinion, better goaltending, better coaching, better special teams, and they played like crap. Time to wake up, Dallas. Time to get the victory. As always, best of luck to everyone tonight. Enjoy the hockey. It's been fantastic, and have a great day.
Buster, great to see you, man. I love the plays today, and I'm fired up. You know, it's 3 games we broke down, but I think all 3 of us have some really strong opinions. You can get all of our top plays, of course, on our profile pages. And, hey, these 2 guys have top plays going today on the diamond in the MLB as well. So I know this is, of course, a hockey show, but we also do other sports. So best of luck to these 2 gentlemen with their plays tonight on the diamond. Guys, for me, of course, I am off a tough one last night on the New York Rangers. Did have a 2% winner, though, in the first period over in the Leafs and the Lightning game. But still on a pretty good run here, 11-4 playoff run. Going to try and bounce back with a 4% play tonight on the ice. But for my best bet, we're going to go with a prop bet here. And I've got Leon Draisaitl over 0.5 power play points. So to record a power play point, we have seen him cash this in 3 of 4 games so far. I've talked about this all the time. A guy like Draisaitl, who leads the league right now in points in the playoffs, his price is ridiculous for him to get a point in 5-on-5 action, but for him to get a power play point, which he's done in 3 or 4 games, which he's done all season long, is minus 145. People say that his numbers are inflated because he scores so much on the power play. I say he just gets the job done. He is executing consistently on the power play. A goal or an assist on the PP will cash this ticket for us at minus 145. That's my best bet here. Of course, Draisaitl plays for the Oilers. Brian Leonard, LA Kings, plus 1.5 goals here against the Oilers, minus 135. And Don Buster with Dallas Stars, minus 140. Great stuff here today, guys. Really enjoyed this show. Thanks to all of you guys for tuning in live. Of course, all of you guys that watch afterwards as well. Leave a comment below. Let us know who you're cheering for tonight, who you're betting on, and we wish you the best of luck with all of your wagers. On behalf of Buster and Brian, I'm Andrew. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers, best bet, or daily package for only $2.